Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Michael Pokey Oz here. I guess today's video is a bit of a gripe. I'm going to pick some faults at the Pokemon Company. It sounds a bit rude, but you know, I'm a small fish in a very big ocean. I probably shouldn't be throwing stones inside glass houses because we've all got our faults. But I guess I wanted to present some frustrations that I have with what the Pokemon card company is doing with some of the newer sets, some of the print quality, but also put a positive spin on it. So as an investor, because this is predominantly an investing channel, you know, putting that investing lens on, what can we do to make things more positive and essentially, hopefully, you know, make better or wiser decisions and make more money. Before we jump into the video, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And if you want to become a channel member, that would be awesome. I'd greatly appreciate it. All you do is log onto the homepage, click join. If you become a member, you can shoot me an email at any time asking any personalized Pokemon investment questions, and I'll get back to you in a timely manner. On to today's topic, picking some gripes. I think one of the main gripes that I have at the moment, which probably encompasses a fair few of them, is this whole notion of quality over quantity. Forever and a day, for a while I should say, the Pokemon Company has been releasing sets in a relatively stable manner. We seem to go one calendar year 5 sets, the next calendar year 6 sets, the next calendar year 5 sets, the next calendar year 6 sets. And it seems to be doing that probably for the last 7 or 8 years. Prior to that, we've had some years we've only had 4 sets released, but even all the way back to EX era, we've had years we've had 5 sets released, 5 sets released, 5 sets released, you know, when we're talking EX Crystal Guardians, EX Deoxys, etc., all the way through. So it's nothing new to have 5 Pokemon card sets released in a year. That's not really the issue. One of the issues that it's stemming from is a few things. So the first one being, if you look over the last 12 months and this whole, you know, quantity over quality, we're about to tick over 7 Pokemon card sets in the last 12 months. This isn't a calendar year, of course. This is a collective of the last 12 months. 7 sets, including holiday and main sets. The other thing that comes into play with that is set size is massive. If we rewind back to EX era where we were getting, you know, 5 sets a year pretty consistently, we only had set sizes of, like, you know, it could be 92 cards. It might have been a massive set and had 108 cards. You know, but typically it hovered around that, you know, 80 to 120 cards in a set. And what are we getting now? Like, we're pushing, even for specialty sets, even holiday sets, we're north of 150. Whereas main sets, what are we up to in main sets? North of 200 cards a set. Like, it's nothing unusual to have 190 or 210 cards in a set now. So for the average collector / investor / chaser of hits / grader of hits, you've just got a constant barrage of new sets coming out with multiple chase cards and huge array that it feels like you're just sinking your teeth into one set before a new one comes out. It just seems to be so much, doesn't it? And to piggyback that idea of so much product hitting us and so many sets hitting us so quickly is, of course, the increase in the printing. We know that Pokemon Company International purchased Millennium Print Group a little while ago, which of course they had a relationship and were printing cards on their behalf, but they now own it. And as a result, we've seen just this massive influx or increase in the printers. And I know I'm touching on a few gripes here, but you don't really feel like you get what you pay for in some instances. Like, the main one being the quality of the cards. If we look at modern cards, Scarlet and Violet era even, compared to Sword and Shield, which felt like only yesterday, PSA submissions versus PSA 10 returns, so total submissions to the ratio of PSA 10 returns, is dropping down. We were talking, you know, 60% to 65% throughout Sword and Shield era. That is total submissions to PSA versus PSA 10 returns. To Scarlet and Violet, like, we're nudging 35%, if best. So, like, card quality has almost halved if we look at it in that respect. And you can't say, oh, you know, oh, people aren't sending off, you know, people are just sending off cards willy-nilly. You can't say, oh, you know, PSA is grading harder, because most people that send a submission off are still picking the eyes out of it to make sure they can get a 10, because these days that's the only thing that will get you a return on your investment. If you get a 9, quite often, sometimes it's so damn close to the raw price, plus the cost of sending it to PSA, that you're really not gaining much other than having a graded card if it gets a 9. So people are picking the eyes out of it to make sure it's a 10. So you can't use that argument that they're, people are sending in rough copies, because they're not. The other argument you can't use is that PSA graders are getting rougher, because modern Japanese is still getting a massive return. Like if we look at Japanese 151, for argument's sake, we're up around 80 to 85% PSA 10 submission returns. So it's not that PSA are grading harder, it's that the quality of the cards is nowhere near as good. And if the quality of cards isn't as good, it feels like you're not getting value for money. Because in Australia here, if you go down to your local Kmart, for argument's sake, or Target, you've got to pay $7 Australian for a sleeve, like blister, a booster pack inside a sleeve blister. Like that's dear, isn't it? It probably works out to be, what, $4 US you guys have to pay for just a single booster pack. And if you're not feeling like you're getting the quality inside that you're paying for, everything's getting dear. Like tins are up around 35 Australian dollars now, which probably have 3 packs inside them plus a promo. We're getting some products like, some that come from the specialty sets like Pade and Fates, for argument's sake, that only have 3 or 4 booster packs inside them, a couple of promos that no one even wants, and maybe, a poster in the background, and you're up paying like 60 Australian dollars for those products. 60 Australian dollars for 4 or 5 booster packs, and a promo no one wants. We've got to feel like, I know I'm going on a massive tangent here. I'm going to put a positive spin on it at the end, but I don't know. It just feels like they're really pushing for this whole, quantity over quality, aren't they? It's really tough to finish sets. The quality of the cards doesn't feel up to scratch. Feels like they're pumping out way too many sets too quickly. And it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right, does it? Like something needs to be done about that. Now, if we turn the attention to a more positive spin on it, so I'm sorry for going on a massive, massive tangent, and some of you might agree with me and some of you might disagree with me, but if we put our investor lens on and go, okay, how do we see through this muddy water? There's multiple sets hitting us really quickly. There's grading issues. There's a lot of other things coming into play there. How do we make a move as an investor to make money? Well, the first thing I guess I'll say to people is, if we look at Scarlet and Violet base to now, okay, we have a lot of sets coming out rapidly, what we've talked about. Now, not all of them can be reprinted at the same rate. And if we rewind back to latter Sun and Moon / early Sword and Shield period, so the same sort of period we're in now, where we're talking latter Sword and Shield just copped some reprints third quarter last year, and we're into that Scarlet and Violet era. If we rewind back then, there was some sets that didn't get reprinted. Okay, Sword and Shield base only got a very small second wave, hence the booster box price is way up. And a set like Rebel Clash, brain fade there, eh? Rebel Clash, the second set of Sword and Shield, no reprint at all, no booster box reprint. Now, that set is arguably the weakest Sword and Shield set. There is really, maybe Obsidian Flames is weaker. It probably, not Obsidian Flames, Darkness Ablaze is weaker. It probably is. But you can't argue that Rebel Clash is a strong set, because it's just not. There's no good chase cards inside it. The only reason it's strong in a price is because it got such low supply, and as did Sword and Shield base. And again, you can't argue that was a good set, because it's arguably not. Scarlet and Violet base is a better set than Sword and Shield base. Paldea Evolve is a better set than Rebel Clash. The first 2 sets of Scarlet and Violet are better than the first 2 sets of Sword and Shield. So the reason those have such strong prices is because they were so short printed. We are bound to get something similar happen when it comes to the start of Scarlet and Violet era. If we're pumping out so many sets so rapidly, there's bound to be something that doesn't get reprinted. And, with the downturn of the economy, maybe people spending less money at the moment than what they were on the Pokemon card game 3 or 4 years ago, especially when it comes to new product, maybe the printers might get turned back a touch, or maybe there might be some sets that don't pick up a reprint. Now, how do we call that? We could also say, though, how do you know which one? And if it does happen, it's also just dependent on demand as well. So there's those 2 interconnected factors that I always talk about, which is supply and demand. So even though a set might be weak, as in it doesn't have much demand because it's weak because it doesn't have very good chase cards, therefore it doesn't have much demand because there's not people wanting to crack it to get the chase cards. They might not get a good return when they come back as a PSA 10. So it's like weak set because weak chase cards, low demand. But if it's got super low supply, it goes up in price. So it's that interconnected relationship. We could say the same about Scarlet and Violet. Okay, Obsidian Flames is a super weak set, arguably the weakest main set of Scarlet and Violet. Some people might say Scarlet and Violet base is worse, but I rank it a little bit higher than Obsidian Flames, especially if it wasn't for that Charizard. If it wasn't for that Charizard, she'd be a very, very weak set. But what I'm getting at is if Obsidian Flames gets no reprint, and then all of a sudden we realize, pretty low supply on that set, does it mean it's going to shoot up in price? Is it going to do a Rebel Clash on us or a Sword and Shield base? Well, quite possibly. Even something like a Paradox Rift, which is, in my opinion, stronger than Obsidian Flames and stronger than Scarlet and Violet base. It's not a super strong set. Like, it's certainly no Lost Origin or Fusion Strike or Chilling Reign or Evolving Skies, of course. But if it doesn't get reprinted, all of a sudden people go, hold on. And especially something like Temporal Forces, where we got this switch over to this back to this real tiered pool, where your rare SIRs are very, very difficult cards to pull. And if they're very, very difficult cards to pull, we're typically going to see, even if they're not fan favorite Pokemon, we're typically going to see slightly higher chase card prices on those because they're harder to get. That then makes them harder to grade, coupled with the lower, grading average that we're seeing at the moment that I spoke about before. So if something like a temporal Forces misses out on a reprint, that's a way stronger set than Rebel Clash. That could jump up really, really quickly. That brings about the question then, how do we know? How do we know which one's not going to cop a reprint? Or are they all just going to get reprinted? We don't know that. So I suppose you could, in the best case, maybe hedge your bets, okay? So if we're buying into those booster boxes at as low a price as we possibly can, whether it's a case or two, who knows? You might get lucky. Who's to say there's not going to be another Rebel Clash in that set? Rebel Clash is going here in Australia for like $350 to $400, maybe $400 is the lowest price you can buy a booster box here in Australia. And, that was $170 when it came out. So it's 2.5x its price in, 3.5, nearly 4 years? Probably bang on 4 years now, isn't it? Yeah, 4 years since Rebel Clash came out. But that's pretty damn solid for a super weak set. Something like a Temporal Forces could perform way better than that. Hey, on the gripes before I finish up the video, like, this massive amount of sets coming out, and I'm just on Twilight Masquerade. Like, there's some nice cards inside. The Eevee is a beautiful card. The Infernape is a nice card. The Greninja SIR is a nice card. But other than that, like, are we just filling them with junk? Like, look at the gold cards. Is there anything entertaining there? Look at this. What is he? Ograpon. Like 4 SIRs with all different types of Ograpon masks. Like, come on. Oh, is this a strong set? From initial looks, no. Is it just like they're pumping out volume just to put another set in front of us so we buy it? Because, I don't know. Like, it's too many sets too quickly. Give us something. Inject some energy. Come on. Like, the art is beautiful. No one's disputing that the artwork's beautiful. It feels like too many cards and just a touch lazy with the set structure lately. Like, just now's the time to hit us. If things are quietening down, that's when you put your thinking cap on and you go, okay, what am I going to hit the audience between the eyes with? What's going to make them passionate about these sets again? Yeah, I know. Kids are the predominant target market of these cards, and they'll keep buying them. Parents will keep buying them for their kids. They'll pull a shiny gold card and just go, whoa, it's a shiny gold card, just like they used to with rainbow cards. Kids used to love rainbow cards, and us as collectors probably sat back and went, ugh, they're nothing special, just like we're doing with a lot of these SIRs. But kids would probably pull the Orographon mask and go, sweet, it's the Crash Bandicoot mask. Anyway, I suppose that's enough gripes. If there's anything that you can take away from this video or a bit of advice to end it on, it would be, hey, hedge your bets on some of these Scarlet and Violet sets. I know we're probably all hanging out for the next Evolving Skies where we can pump a heap of money into, but for the time being, there's nothing wrong with buying yourself a booster box case of each set, because who knows, with the amount of volume they're printing at the moment and pumping out of sets, there's every chance that one of them will get short printed or two of them will get short printed, and low supply will equal an increase in price on those sets. That's my take on it. Hopefully I didn't annoy too many people with this little gripe that I've had, but and hopefully you've taken away something from it. So I'm Michael, this is Poke Oz, and I'll catch everyone next time.